Ah, online reviews. There's not quite anything like them. Minimizing the risk of buyer's remorse by depending on the trustworthy opinions of those who might have bought the item or service before you. Or maybe you're just being suckered into one of the biggest schemes on the internet, designed to make a company more of your money for a crappy product. It's time to dissect online reviews. I'm Rob Dyke, and this is Social Autopsy. We as a culture rate and review just about anything from movies to restaurants to can openers that seem to have a face. That little cutie right there? But opinions on the internet are like assholes. They can be totally fake. Wait, that's not how it goes, is it? Anyway, yes, while you may consider reviews to be a great way to minimize buyer's remorse, they're also a great way for companies to earn more of your money for a cheap and low quality product. And thanks in large part due to online anonymity, a reviewer could be anyone, real or not. But even knowing this, we give them the almighty authority to decide what we buy. Even in the traditional sense of being a professional reviewer, there is very little training needed. According to MIT professor and author of Uncertain Science's Bruce Moslish, even academic book reviews require no additional training, and most reviewers, though professionals in their field, simply rely on hit and miss methods. Even the famous film critic Roger Ebert was hired to cover high school sports and review them. When he was offered a film critic job in 1966, he said it came completely out of the blue, and he was really bad at it at first because he had no experience. So in a sense, not much has really changed. You would hardly call most people who post on Yelp or Amazon experts in what they're talking about. The only real difference is when Roger Ebert put his name on his work, you knew it was Roger Ebert. Just because someone writes a review claiming they ate at XYZ restaurant and had a horrible experience doesn't mean what that person is saying is true, or even if the reviewer is real. In fact, in April of this year, Amazon filed suit against 1,000 people who are offering to place reviews on products without ever even trying them. Amazon began going after freelance writers who have accounts on the marketplace Fiverr.com, a site where people offer services beginning at $5. The writers would offer 5-star ratings and would even offer the company a fully written review and simply place the writer's name on it to pose as a customer, turning the art of negative reviewing into a lucrative business. And this kind of thing may be more common than you think. Bing Liu, a University of Illinois computer science professor who has been working on software to identify fake reviews, calculates that approximately 30% of online reviews for certain products are fake, while a study from Cornell shows around 10% of all reviews to be fake. But what about reviews that are real? Do they paint a clear picture of what a business has to offer? Well, the answer's obvious. No. In a recent survey, researchers found that people were more likely to leave a negative review than a positive one. In a sample group of 1,000 people, 88% said they would leave a bad review if they had received bad service. Also, when asked how many times they shared a negative experience, 54% said that they had shared their experience with over 5 different sources. Emotion can change how a person perceives a certain situation and therefore can alter how they retell the experience. In a study done by Swiss Medical Weekly, emotion was shown to potentially change the subjective sense of recollection. In the study, recipients that had experienced emotionally relevant events, sometimes as extreme as experiencing a terrorist attack, could not recall exact details of the events days after they could on the day of the event. In much the same way, it's hard to say that reviews written after a trip to a restaurant or coffee house played out exactly as they had happened during the actual event, due to the power of emotion on our memories. The power of negative memories, altered or not, have a higher potency than more favorable memories do. In a 2001 study on personality and negative bias, when presented with a negative or positive experience, the negative experience would resonate higher with the person than the positive experience would. Due to this, a person may be more inclined to ignore a strong 5-star rating after reading a less favorable review due to the person's current mentality. As for why people are more prone to leave negative reviews in the first place, people who exhibit neuroticism, emotional instability, or are just less open than outgoing people are more likely to use online reviews to vent negative feelings. It's safe to say that if you aren't professionally obligated to leave reviews, then you probably have emotions attached to your opinion, especially when you go out of your way to flesh it out for the entire internet to see. And what actually happens a lot of the time is that people go out of their way to leave bad reviews just to hurt the business for no other reason than that. One well-known example of the power of negative reviews is that of Amy's Baking Company, which was featured on the reality show Kitchen Nightmares. The couple who owned the restaurant became infamous themselves after being featured on the show, where they were shown yelling and screaming at customers, causing Gordon Ramsay to end filming and leave the restaurant. Shortly after, the restaurant's Yelp page became flooded with bad reviews, some of whom claimed to have never even been to the restaurant at all. But don't worry, according to some sources, Yelp might not be as ethical as we once thought. In September of 2014, the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals tossed out a lawsuit filed by several businesses. These businesses claimed Yelp extorted them by removing positive reviews after advertising sales pitches were turned down. This was not the first time Yelp had been accused of extortion, having already battled 2 similar lawsuits before. Complaints have been made against Yelp that they continuously lowered and raised ratings depending on whether the businesses in question advertised with them. So it appears that a number of reviews are either fake or so emotionally driven that you can't trust them anyway. So how can you kind of tell if you're being suckered in by a fake review? The best ways to tell is if the reviewer is fairly new to the site, has never left a review before, or somehow knows things about the product or service that a typical customer probably wouldn't know. So what do you do in times like these? Well, it's really up to you. You can listen to them or not, and unfortunately, reviews are kind of the best system we currently have. The only way you can really know if a product or service is worth it is to just try it yourself. I know that kind of sounds crappy, but it's kind of the only way to do it. We just have to trust businesses and hold businesses accountable to provide a fair reviewing process. Before we go, I'd like to give a very special shout out to Lynda. All you Lyndas. The folks at Lynda.com are fans of Social Autopsy and have decided to sponsor this episode. Do you have the urge to learn things such as video editing, web design, animation, and a whole lot more? What about starting a web series like me? Well, here's the answer you've been waiting for. Lynda.com is a leading online learning company with over 100,000 tutorials. Classes are accessible through your computer, laptop, tablet, or iPhone, so you can learn on your own time and at your own pace. And if you go to lynda.com/Rob, you will get a 10-day free trial to try their services. Just by heading over to lynda.com/Rob, you can begin your path to enlightenment. And you never know, this 10-day free trial could turn into something you do for the rest of your life and do successfully. So why not take the chance? It's free. So don't wait. Go down to the link in the description below and head to lynda.com/Rob and start learning today the skills you just might use for life. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you'd like to learn more things you weren't prepared to admit, please be sure to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next Friday.